Producing a super yacht is one of the most complex and time-consuming build processes in the world. The combination of advanced engineering and pure hands-on craftsmanship makes it difficult to cut corners. At the same time, shipyards and suppliers are challenged to increase efficiency, reduce their footprint, and find the right craftsmen for the job. In this episode of Yacht Talk, it's all about the future of yacht building, keeping the craftsmanship and adding efficiency. My guests for this show are Erik Veurink, Director of the Innovation Hub, Brainport Industries Campus; Vincent Wegener, Managing Director of 3D printing experts, RAMLAB; and Erik Veurink, Chief Operating Officer at Heesen Yachts. I'm Charlotte Kahn, and welcome to Yacht Talk by Heesen. Hello and welcome everyone. Now, before we discover everything there is to know about the magical process of creating a super yacht, let's first have a round of news. Moy Composites has put 3D printing for boats back on the map. At the Genoa Boat Show, this Italian startup unveiled the world's very first 3D printed fiberglass boat. Mambo demonstrates unique shapes that cannot be achieved with traditional manufacturing. It was digitally crafted with a new patented 3D printing technology.
I think it's definitely something we need to do for the future, at least look into it and see what we can adapt. I think one of the transitions that we as a superyacht industry have to make from a traditional production method to new technology, and that's what I see here.
Vincent.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I didn't see it before, but yeah, the complex geometries is perfect for 3D printing, of course. Well, combined with a 3D printed propeller, perhaps.
A very good match indeed.
Yeah.
Erik, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I love it because we are very curious about the innovations we brought to the several industries, so that this is lovely to see.
Now, if you can't have the real thing, why not build your own Heesen super yacht with Lego bricks? Heesen challenged two former Lego master teams from Belgium and the Netherlands to create the perfect miniature version of the largest Heesen yacht to date, the 80-meter Project Cosmos. So let's take a look. Right, that's it from our news desk. Let's move on to the main theme of our show, the future of yacht building. Now, Erik, you are an expert on challenges and innovative solutions in high-tech manufacturing. It's great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
And you are the director of the Brainport Industries Campus. It only opened a year ago, I understand. What's the idea behind it?
The idea behind is that we want to establish a campus specific for the high-tech manufacturing industry, because we have science campus, we have research and development campus, but the need was especially to have a high-tech manufacturing campus. And to bring the total industry to a next level, then you need to create an atmosphere named by Brainport Industry Campus to realize that. And in our campus, the inspiring workplace for open innovation, we bring under one single roof education, knowledge institutes, companies and governments as well. So, and in that matter, we have a lot of innovation programs, and we can support to bring the industry to a next level.
Absolutely. I think you touched upon something that's important. Innovation, it's technology plus people.
Yeah.
And collaboration, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why you were talking about the word environment. You need to create that special environment for people to bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah, we call it a specific ecosystem.
And from there you run the factory of the future,
Yeah.
I've been told. That's
Yeah.
very exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, the factory of the future. We started in the past with the first revolution, and now we create a breakthrough to the fourth revolution, and that will be smart industry. There is organized a specific program, Smart Industry, and when on the several sectors on that program, we have specific innovation programs to run and stimulate that. In example, what can we do with sustainable factory? What can we do with robotics? What can we do with digitalization, etc.?
A small factory is basically this
it's a small factory.
place where everything is fully automated, this glimpse of the future.
Yeah, I think and I hope we have some introducing videos from our campus.
Absolutely. In fact, let's take a look right now.
Okay, thanks.
Well, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the high-tech manufacturing industry here in Europe. What do you think will be the next and current challenges?
The most important challenge is to keep the talent captive, bind and retain talent. And we have to innovate a lot to make the production processes a lot more efficient and sustainable as well. And there are several techniques. Software development is there also an important part for. And as part of today, the 3D print technologies. And the biggest challenge is a lot of people think, okay, it's the one or the other. It's or 3D or traditional way, but it's important to know that there are very good combinations possible. Dus how can we flexible manufacture 3D printing again with traditional production?
What you can see is if you want to attract talent, if you don't provide the latest tools, you cannot attract the latest talent. They want to work with 3D printers, they want to work with robotics, they want to have to work with the latest software. So it's a combination of both.
Yeah, and that was also the purpose for establish our campus, create an inspiring workplace.
Yeah.
And the movie you saw, that was the boy and the man in the red shirt. Yeah. What the purpose was to give a small piece and interact with technology. That's the way we have the showroom of the high-tech manufacturing in our campus. And it's public area, everyone can see. And when mother and child come into our campus, into our showroom, the little boy thinks, okay, this is technique, this is wonderful. And we have educations companies as well in our campus, and they start to go to school.
That's basically pitching the future.
Yeah,
that's what you're doing.
I mean, Rick, is this something you struggle with, at the shipyard, attracting the best talent from Europe?
Yeah, so far we are able to manage that, but what you see is that there is going to be a change from more technology-driven. So you need to find the right balance between the craftsmanship on the shop floor, but also have more 3D environment, high-tech components that you can introduce into superyacht building. And as we just mentioned before, you can see that there's a lot of craftsmanship involved, so a lot of labor. But I think with all the techniques we have nowadays, that you can actually get to a higher level, have more output with this technology.
Now, to better understand and get an idea of the complexity and the amount of labor going into building a super yacht, let's have a look, an exclusive look at the behind the scenes at Heesen. Enjoy.
Wow.
It's impressive,
Thank you.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, Rick, in your current position at Heesen, you oversee all operations.
Yep.
And tell us about how it started, because there's an interesting story there.
Oh, it is. I started as an apprentice in 1986 with Heesen. The first job I actually did was, we're talking about new technology, but my first job was actually welding part of the hull. And over the years I finished my studies and eventually went into the offices, was running a huge part of the organization and had several jobs. So I left for a few years, so I came back in 2015 and ever since I'm running the company. And
what do you remember as the craziest thing from those early days at Heesen?
The craziest, whatever is crazy. I mean, the nice thing of working in the superyacht industry is that any question, even though it might be the most difficult question we ever had, we always need to find a solution to it because we're building a dream. And that can be a very delicate pool we need to install on the superyacht. That can be a boat, a client asking, I want to do at least 30 knots with a 70 meter or an 80 meter. That's a very simple question, but the answer, the technology behind that makes it a challenge, but also very complex to actually make it happen. And for us, any question, there is no, basically no, so to speak.
And from a technical perspective, tell us a bit more about the complexity involved in building a yacht.
Yeah, I always say a shipyard, in this case Heesen, obviously we're one company, with one culture if you like. But within that one company we have maybe 5 or 6 different companies. We are an engineering company, with high quality. We are a construction department. We have a mechanical department with all their individual challenges and trades. So those 4, 5, 6 companies are combined one shipyard. And for me, as one of the board members, for me that's a huge challenge to have all these elements combined and create a unique product in the world.
COVID-19 obviously has affected many companies and industries out there. It's changed their way of working. Do you think that the crisis has helped you become more efficient in some ways? Do you think you've had to take a deep look at how you work and that it's led to innovations and further efficiencies?
Now, what I noted is that we are a very efficient company and we have a good team spirit as well. And that actually makes me, as well as my colleagues, makes us very proud. You need to be very flexible in this crazy crazy world we're living in at the moment. It's quite challenging as for any operation, but also for us as a shipyard. And with all people involved, we have managed to be as flexible as possible without actually have a very negative impact on the production process. Yes, there are issues which we tackle day by day, but with a good spirit and the people literally, I would say, on board and having the same focus.
Erik, do you think that the pandemic will have changed manufacturing somehow?
Yeah, it changes everything.
Okay, in what ways?
It's only the people on board in your campus. Home working is the new standard. But you can do that with the office, with staff personnel and with the education institutes. But the people really work with their hands in the industry.
Yeah.
You can't work from home.
Yeah.
And how have we tackled that? Yeah. Because that's a specific one.
Yeah.
3D printing actually provides an answer to a certain extent.
Yeah, well, it's actually it shows that how vulnerable we have been and are for the supply chains we have created over the past 100 years, like worldwide. And then if you have parts that are coming from China or what have you, and they don't come in the port anymore because there are no ships coming in because the crew is sick, or then you see how vulnerable that is. So I think local production actually gives an opportunity to reshore production back to the Netherlands or to Europe. And 3D printing is part of that you can make parts locally and on demand. Yeah.
Now, to see how shipyards are already using new technology in shipbuilding, we've interviewed Pieter van Beurden, General Manager Production at Heesen.
My name is Pieter van Beurden. I'm the General Manager for Production for Heesen. Yeah, since 10 years I'm really into production. It's then the people, the logistics, the team, everything comes together. It becomes a fabulous feeling. Production of yachts is a really complex business. You get a lot of trades coming together and customers expect a high quality level. We are really in a ramp up. We expect the biggest turnover this year ever. To give you an example, we currently have 11 boats under construction at Heesen. Looking at production, this biggest turnover ever means we're growing from 450 people to 650 people this year on the workforce. As there are so many man hours in building a yacht, it's very interesting to look into where can we optimize the production process. To give you an example, 2 years ago we implemented a new way of working with the aluminium. We coated the aluminium parts more in detailed. We introduced where to weld. It's becoming a really nice, easy to use building package. Another challenging area is of course the manpower. Getting the right skilled people on board, it's in this market really challenging. Some parts of the work are really repetitive, like grinding the hull, like welding above your head. And that's why we're using nowadays exoskeletons. The exoskeleton helps to reduce fatigue in the muscles. Innovations we are looking into now are 3D printing, that's automated fairing and painting of the hull, and of course electrostatic painting inside the engine room. The latest innovation we use now in production is the use of glue for constructive parts. It's corrosion resistant and it's really fast to apply. My ultimate dream for building yachts will be on a more modular way without losing the craftsmanship of the people.
Rick, I was very impressed by the exoskeleton, I must say, as a way to show that technology is there to assist the human at work. That's important to enhance craftsmanship using new tools.
Yeah, like I said, in the end of the day, a lot of things we do is craftsmanship. There's a lot of manpower we need to put there. But you want to make sure that people can do it as efficient, but also with regard to health and safety. So we are looking into these techniques where we can help the people, improving also the skills.
Now, one innovation with great potential in yacht building is 3D printing. We've just discussed it. And my next guest is already very successful with this technology. So Vincent, you are the managing director of RAMLAB.
Correct.
It could be said that you work in the Silicon Valley of yachting. Isn't that right?
Really?
That's what they say.
Tell. Well, I guess we're on the forefront of exploring new technology, which is, in our case, wire arc additive manufacturing. So that's basically 3D welding. We're using welding robots to weld layer on layer on top of each other. And if you do that correctly, you can make any shape you want, and then you can also make like propellers, or like I mentioned before, molds or dies for all kinds of parts for a yacht. So specifically double curved surfaces, like the hull of a ship, or propellers, of course, are very suitable for 3D printing.
Do you feel like pioneers at RAMLAB?
Well, yes, we are a very small team. When we started 4 years ago, we actually set out the goal to make parts on demand. We are funded by the Port of Rotterdam Authority with the vision or basically the exercise was what will happen in a world where parts are no longer shipped, but they are actually made on demand and locally. What's then the role of a port? So we have a vision to make parts on demand, to go to a world where you have a digital warehouse and then you print what you need. And we made the first steps already in the first year of our existence to print the first propeller and certified propeller in the world, which was, I think, quite an achievement. Looking back on that, it was good fun. Non-stop 24/7 shifts to print a propeller in 10 days.
Yeah. And it's worth pointing out that you actually run 2 different and very successful companies, don't you?
Yeah, I'm also a founder of Captain AI, and with Captain AI we develop software to sail autonomously. And we've been testing that software since 2 years now in the busiest port of Europe, which is the Port of Rotterdam. And we have access to one of the patrol vessels of the Port of Rotterdam Authority, and a very nice, which actually a Tuk yacht. It's a boat from Kotuk, which we are allowed to use for our testing of our software. So that's also something that we do. And well, hopefully one day we can add our software to a Heesen yacht. Of course, would be fun to see that.
Let's explore.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're here. You want to also learn from other industries. I'm very much interested in the 3D propeller, for instance. But also, if I look at the lightweight model you have in front of you, Erik, I mean that if I talk about getting custom products produced, lightweight, because I would say as a boat builder, one of the biggest enemies we have is weight. Any kilo we want to get rid of as much as possible. And if I see those things we can create nowadays in 3D printing and what have you, I'm all in.
And I think there's an interesting element in terms of maintenance and repairs as well. The fact that you can quickly 3D print something if something goes wrong on one of the yachts or the boats. Yeah. That's obviously a real benefit, isn't it?
Yeah, repair is one of, I would say, less sexy subjects, but everybody wants to talk about 3D printing. But actually, repair is a very important part as well. And the bigger the parts are, the more it's worth to actually repair the part instead of printing or make a new part. And it's also a huge business we're also developing our technology for. Yeah.
The shipbuilding industry is rather conservative, isn't it?
Correct.
So what personally motivates you to work with it and change things?
Well, you mentioned Silicon Valley. Well, my personal drive is actually why aren't things happening here? Why should we wait till it happens in Silicon Valley? So that's my personal drive was also like, let's make it happen here in the Netherlands and see what we can do with 3D printing. As for the maritime sector, yes, it's a conservative market. It has to do with the fact, of course, that you want to have safety on board and parts need to be certified. So if you come in with something new, a new technology, you at least have to show it's safe. So we've done everything on our side to show that it is a safe technology, and therefore the first 3D printed and certified propeller, which was also tested on the ship. To show and also to include the class bureau that it is actually a safe technology to be applied to the maritime sector.
And what areas of yacht building do you expect to enjoy the greatest benefits from 3D printing?
Well, on the side of if you look at the ship itself, it is, I think, mainly in the complex shapes of the hull and of the propeller. But of course, if you have interior that is a specific shape, or you need composite shapes, then tooling is very handy. And if you want to have quick tools, or you want to manufacture tools quickly, I should say, then 3D printing again is the right tool in the shed to use. Yeah.
Okay. So RAMLAB printed a tugboat propeller.
Correct.
Tell us about what's happening on this video.
Right. So we have a welding robot system, and you see here the wire that comes out of the torch. So it's a 1.2 millimeter cunial wire, so that's copper, nickel, aluminum alloy. And then we weld layer on layer on top of each other, basically, on the substrate. This took us 10 days full time, 24/7 printing, 24/7 welding. It was the first time, so I think if we do it again, we can actually do it in probably 7 days. It's 400 kilos in the end, and then when this process is done, it will be, or it was, grinded smooth and tested in the waters.
7 days, 400 kilos. How does it compare to how you do things currently?
For instance, propellers are made in the traditional way, in a mold. And if I see this technology, I think this is definitely the future. I mean, like you said previously, is that we are quite a traditional industry. Sometimes also because we need to follow the classification rules. I think that's also what you mentioned. But you can see that shipbuilding and in general, but also yacht building specifically, is changing also to adapt to the future, because you need to follow these techniques.
Yeah.
And it's not only for how quick can we produce a propeller like that, but it's also to create less waste.
Yeah.
It's also the sustainable way.
Yeah.
It's important as well.
Yeah, it was also,
I agree,
one of the reasons. If you look at a manufacturer of propellers, the warehouse is filled with hundreds of propellers just waiting there for that one ship that needs the part. Yeah. So why not make the part when you need it? That's in the end the idea behind 3D printing. And also to know, like, the quality between casting a part and printing a part, it's a huge difference. So the quality of a printed propeller is much higher than a casted part. So.
Now, Erik, you also brought a few things.
Yeah, this is what we can use in the interior. You said before it must be light.
Yeah.
And normally the traditional way is you keep wood into your interior. But if you make the basics from your interior 3D plastics, it's very hard. It's very robust. You can feel as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Quite impressive, really.
But I
mean, it's really impressive. I mean, it's solid. On the other hand, it's extremely
Super
light.
light.
That's what you want to have on a superyacht, especially like in the industry we are doing with high-speed vessels. Yeah, any kilo.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what you would like to see.
Yeah, and then you can combine traditional way with 3D printing.
Just before we started the show, we actually had a chat about it. You can see that and I think it was also something that you mentioned, Vincent, that you can see that the shapes we need to, and it can be in the exterior, but also in the interior, the shapes we need to create nowadays, but also with the help of the tools we have nowadays, you can create something very specific for a client. Yeah. And I think that is also a nice introduction into the shipyard industry with all the things we have available nowadays. So I'm very much interested in see how we can take things further even after this show.
Yeah. These are products for 3D printing, not for mass production. It's small series, and then you can use them. Yeah. And you can print them just in time, what you need.
Yeah. But if I might add to that, where I also see additional value is especially in the early stages when you're working with a client and a designer. That can be for exterior parts, but also for the interior, where you have virtual reality, but also when you have a discussion with a client where you can actually make one-off 3D prints or whatever, I mean, that will help you with your client to create their perfect dream. So you can do it in the early stages, not during the build, but in the early stages of design and engineering.
Okay, so we have come to the end of our show.
Whoa.
And to immortalize your appearance on YachtTalk, I would like to ask you one last question, but you'll have to write down the answer in our logbook and sign it. Okay? So, the question is, it's not a difficult one, don't worry. Which company do you most admire for their production process and why? We'll start with you, Rick.
First right? First right?
Okay.
Or
Yeah,
shall
you need to write it down and sign it for the record.
For the record. Page 1?
Absolutely.
Do I need one specific name, or can I be...
Oh, yes, absolutely. Which company do you most admire for their production process?
Then I say, I think it's also something we just mentioned. Tesla.
Okay, Tesla. Why?
That was my specific question. Do I need to write down a name? Because I think it's more the car industry in itself, but I picked Tesla because that's the newcomer in the sense. I think it's quite impressive what they have established over the last, 5 to 10 years. But what I like about the car industry, the way they create their products and how they produce them in a very efficient manner and constantly raise the bar. And I take that as an example on how we can transform, if you like, the yachting industry.
Erik, your turn.
Yeah. I think the name of the company I will write down is Apple.
Okay. So, why? No concerns about batteries, for instance?
Very innovative. And also, they not create what we need. They create needs. And that's what I love.
Interesting. Right. Vincent, your turn.
Yeah, good one. So I think I'll do an unknown company, perhaps.
Okay.
But
An
it's a startup.
company that no one's heard of.
It's a relativity space.
Okay.
And they are based in Los Angeles, and they have set out to the mission to print every part of their rockets they make to launch them into space. So, and what I like about it is, of course, the 3D printing part, but really as a newcomer that they have been able to raise enough funding to set up a whole factory, and they're now actually printing every part of the rocket, and they will launch next year. But it's an example of where it's going, right? A very small team of like 30 engineers is able to raise capital, make everything digital, and then actually launch rockets into space. You know, like 10 years ago, 50 years ago, it would take 10,000 people, 100,000 people, and now you can do it with a very small team. So that's the power of this digitalization and new tools.
And what's the name of the company?
Relativity Space.
Interesting. Well, thank you very much.
Right.
Okay. So before we say goodbye, we want to leave you with our top 3 most interesting social media finds about things you can do on a yacht. Enjoy. Brilliant. Thank you very much for watching. Keep safe and above all, keep yachting.